Your Denver Broncos just get a double dose of great news because it's not just that we dominated the offseason and plugged every single hole that we had and we made the playoffs last year. It's also how much unraveled this year in Kansas City. In this video, we are breaking down unbiased sources who talk about just how the train is falling off the tracks inside of the Kansas City Chiefs and why that's going to lead to your Denver Broncos winning the AFC West this year. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben. Helps me in the YouTube algorithm out a ton. If you like the Broncos, if you would like and subscribe. So we're truly just seeing this all over the place. Adam Shefter yesterday came out on ESPN and said this is the toughest the AFC West has ever been. He doesn't think the Chiefs will win. Colin Cowherd came out and predicted the same thing. Even hater Nick Wright said the same thing. We see Fox came out and made their predictions, a way too early predictions on how this season is going to go. You see that they have the Broncos winning the AFC West, and in second place, it's not the Chiefs, it's the Chargers. They have the Chargers being in second place, and the Chiefs barely squeaking in and being a wild card. That would be amazing if Bo Nix is to get a home playoff game against Patrick Mahomes. So what is it that is leading all of these people to think it? So there's a ton of things, and we're going to talk about the horrible moves they made, but we got to really just focus in on how bad that Super Bowl was for Patrick Mahomes and for that entire system. And you're just looking here at one of the worst offensive showings ever in a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes was sacked 6 times in that game, and none of them happened because of a blitz. All of this happened with a 4-man pressure. We saw it, and I think we maybe looked past it and we reveled in it and we loved it, but we really got to focus on what this shows and then how the Chiefs actually got worse in all of these areas. They didn't bolster their offensive line. It actually fell apart even further. So we see here 4-man pressures hit him 6 times in that game, and then this was the series where he got sacked on back-to-back and then had a pick 6. So he had an absolutely horrible Super Bowl, and we can revel in that, but then I think there's a lot to learn from how they didn't improve upon it. So yes, that was really bad. They had 1 first down the entire first half of that game. The Eagles had more points at halftime than the Chiefs had yards. It was just an abysmal showing, but it was hardly an outlier. You remember the game, and I hate even putting this picture up on the screen, but remember the game that the Broncos completely outplayed the Kansas City Chiefs? We lost on a last-second blocked kick. Bo Nix, as a rookie early on in the season, goes out and outduels Patrick Mahomes. He has a higher QBR, a higher quarterback rating in general, played a much, much better game than Patrick Mahomes. We hit him 9 times in that game, and very rarely was it because of exotic packages, and we even bailed him out with some late hits and some questionable calls. We know the Chiefs were in an inordinate amount of 1-score games last year, and when sports gamblers look at over-unders the year after, they completely weigh that in the favor of hey man, if this team won a bunch of 1-score games last year, they're not going to get lucky again, and so that's reason enough to smash the under. But let's look at how bad this was. So first off, the biggest problem the Chiefs had was that their offensive line was an absolute turnstile, that the Broncos went in, hit Mahomes 9 times, he gets sacked 6 times in that Super Bowl. So you're like, oh, they're going to beef up the offensive line, right? No, actually, they go the opposite way. So they made a Hail Mary move there, and they went out and signed their left tackle, and they got this guy, Jalen Moore. And even this is a headline from basically their version of Predominantly Orange saying, hey, signing Jalen Moore and giving him the money we did is one of the worst moves of this entire offseason. Jalen Moore was the backup in San Francisco, and if you were to rank him on his PFF grades and his other just advanced analytics, he would have been 63 out of 67 tackles last year. So you're talking they went out and gave top money to a guy who started 12 games in 4 seasons. And I think that one of the most important things about why this is going to be such a bad pick was that he is the backup to Trent Williams in San Francisco. Trent Williams was going to retire this year, and even though he was going to retire, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch had no reaching out to him to try to keep him. We saw Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch go out to Texas to try to convince Dre Greenlaw. We saw them calling Hufanga saying, please come back. They didn't even make an attempt to keep him. So they know more about what he has in the tank than the Chiefs do, and they're like, let him go. And they were able to get a compensatory pick from him. But, I mean, the fact that they are a year away from losing their left tackle, Trent Williams, one of the best in the league, and still they didn't say, hey, let's bring him back. So I think that is a huge sign, red flag for them. On top of that, their big shining bright spot where they have had a couple great guards there. One of the guards was actually the highest PFF ranked guard in all of 2024, and they let him walk and traded him to the Bears. The Bears are over the moon excited. So that offensive line that let Mahomes get sacked 6 times with no blitzes, Their upgrade was, let's go get a backup tackle, and then let's let our best guard or our second best guard walk for a third-round draft pick. And that's because of some of the cap casualties that they're in. The bulk of their cap space is going to these dudes, and so they couldn't give that money to Joe Thuney, so they let him walk and got just pennies on the dollar back for it. So the offensive line took a massive step back. That's great for us. On top of that, DeAndre Hopkins, a Hall of Famer without a doubt who wants a ring, had the choice between, am I going to go back to Kansas City because that's my best chance for a ring, or am I going to go to Baltimore? And he left the Chiefs and is with Baltimore and thinks he has a better chance of getting a ring going and joining Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson than coming back. So losing one of their best wide receivers, we know Rashee Rice is coming back from a pretty catastrophic knee injury. He could maybe not ever hit his peak again, but when he does come back, he will be facing an 8-game suspension from the NFL, meaning that like you're talking early on in the Chiefs season, which is stacked with tough games, which we're going to talk about again. You don't have DeAndre Hopkins, and you're also without Rashee Rice. On top of that, it gets even worse because the Chiefs defense took massive steps back as well. That if you look at the highest ranked PFF graded player in their whole Super Bowl run, it was this cat right here. So this was, they're in the whole Super Bowl run was this guy right here. And this is Tershawn Wharton, and they couldn't re-sign him. So you lost him. And now even this is their predominantly orange again, saying that basically now their defensive line is in big, big trouble because you're talking everything on Chris Jones, who is getting older by the year, and Mike Pennell, who's almost 35 and had a pretty low PFF grade last year. So losing a massive member on the defensive line and the highest ranked player in the Super Bowl on their whole defense, he outplayed Chris Jones in the Super Bowl. Boom, he's gone. On top of that, they also lost one of their best players in the secondary, and that's great. So Justin Reed also gone, and he was one of the highest rated PFF players in several of their games last year. And so they lost their starting safety and their starting defensive lineman, their starting guard. All of those were positions of need. Then you're talking about their only way of succeeding moving forward because of the cap casualties that they have is all of their eggs are in the Travis Kelce basket. And I've been calling for Travis Kelce's demise for several seasons. We saw it last year where he had 0 catches in the entire first half of that Super Bowl game. I even saw when the Broncos played him, he didn't scare me like he used to. And I think we have an answer for him now in Dre Greenlaw. Obviously, in Hufanga as a safety, I think we definitely have a Travis Kelce answer. But the other answer for it is just Father Time is absolutely undefeated. This graph is plotting all tight ends in the history of the NFL, and you take a look at what is their peak years. Man, Kansas City haters are like, dude, Evan Ingram is way too old. Well, guess what? Evan Ingram wouldn't have even been in high school when Travis Kelce graduated yet. That's how big that disparity is. You were almost the end of this graph here. There aren't any tight ends in NFL history who have their peak season after 37. And so you were just talking, we've seen it over time. We saw with Russell Wilson when he cared more about traveling the country with Ciara than he did about training and hitting it hard, his production fell off. And I think the same thing is happening with Travis Swift, Travis Kelce there. And Father Time is undefeated. His brother's not much older than him, is living his best life, retired. Travis Kelce has all these other priorities with a podcast with a mega famous superstar girlfriend, probably fiance very soon. And so it's not a homer take to say the Chiefs dynasty, their Super Bowl window is closed. They need to figure out how to rebuild this. And it's not me just saying that. It's Adam Shefter, Colin Cowherd, Nick Wright, Fox Sports. Everyone is seeing the end is very, very near here. And a lot of it is just because you cannot have all of your money tied up in aging superstars. And that's exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs here have, that over 63% of their cap space was going to these 5 guys. That is not a sustainable method. On top of that, this season, they won the AFC West for almost a decade here, which means they play the toughest schedule. And how many of their wins last year were 1-score wins with a bounce of a ball, a missed call here or there? They can't count on that happening again. And so knowing their opening week, they got to fly all the way to Brazil, and then from Brazil, come off of that and jet lagged, come back to play a rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles. This Giants game, an easy scheduled game there for them early in the year, but then you have Baltimore. Then you got to fly all the way across country to a steaming Jacksonville. It's going to be hot, weather-wise, and then you're playing Detroit. That's going to be crazy. Vegas is going to be hopping and coming for you. You play the Commanders is tough. The Buffalo's tough. You play us, but we kind of have a bye week coming off of that as well. Indy folks think has a shot. Dallas is gunning. like really outside of this Giants game, there are not a lot of games on the Chiefs schedule where you're like, oh, that's a layup. They've got that in the bag. Their schedule is tougher than ours. They are traveling more than us. And they are relying on aging superstars. So the Kansas City Chiefs, guys, their Super Bowl window is closed because Bo Nix just kicked the window open of the Denver Broncos Super Bowl, and you can believe in that. Oh, that means it's a fact.